Coming up on Locked On NFL Game Night, we'll talk about the very controversial ending to the Bills-Broncos game and what the loss of Bo Nix means for Denver in the AFC Championship game and who are they facing. Plus, we'll discuss Seattle's complete domination of the 49ers on Saturday night. Let's do it.
The clock may have hit zero, but the conversation is just kicking off. This is Locked On NFL Game Night. From the early window thrillers to the 4 o'clock fireworks, and of course the Thursday night spotlight, we've got you covered with all the jaw-dropping touchdowns, head-scratching calls, and the hot takes you'll be talking about tomorrow. You'll find it all here every week. The game may be over, but the conversation is just getting started. This is Locked On NFL Game Night.
What is up, everybody? Fabs here. He's Swiper, and welcome to Locked On NFL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And Swiper, it's been an interesting weekend so far, to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting weekend. It's been a great weekend for some. It's been a good weekend for others, and it has been a very tumultuous weekend for a lot of teams. So I think the first round of the playoff was super, uber competitive. Most of this round, some of this round was as well. But, man, there were a couple blowouts, and one of them in particular because we're one of the worst quarterback sequences I have seen in quite some time.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. Of course, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. As always, we thank you for listening to Locked On NFL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, recapping all of the action from the NFL postseason with insights from local experts, the only way Locked On can. And on today's show, we're going to talk about the Bills and Broncos battling it out in what was a thrilling and controversial overtime game at Mile High. Then we'll discuss how a hobbled 49ers team was simply no match for Kenneth Walker. And by the way, where was that all year for my fantasy team and the powerful Seahawks defense? And finally, we're going to discuss how the Patriots advanced to the AFC title game and a win over the Texans in what was a sloppy, snowy kind of contest. We've got all that for you and much more. We appreciate you making us your first listen and being an everyday listener on the show, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Swiper, so let's start things off in Denver, where the Broncos beat Josh Allen and the Bills in overtime 33-30. This game was full of controversy, from Buffalo's decision to be aggressive at the end of the first half rather than take a knee. That resulted in a fumble. The Broncos basically get gifted 3 points. They won by 3 points. We also saw a couple of pass interference calls late in the game. They were both against Buffalo. One of them resulted in Will Lutz's game-winning field goal at the end. And then after the game, we found out that Bo Nix broke his ankle, and now he's not going to play for the rest of the playoffs. Jarrett Stidham is going to get the start next week. Oh, that's going to be crazy. For more on this one, though, here's Cody Rourke with Locked On Broncos.
The Denver Broncos will host the AFC Championship next week after they knocked off Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in an overtime thriller, 33-30 here. It was a back and forth action here as the Broncos once had a 23-10 lead in this game, but Josh Allen made himself valuable here, showcasing how dangerous of a player he is. But the Broncos, Bo Nix, ultimately get the last laugh in this game as Will Lutz knocks in the game-winning field goal. Now, the Denver Broncos, just 10 years after they hosted an AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots, they get to host another one with a chance to go back to Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60, where the last time they won, Super Bowl 50, 10 years ago. Where at? Santa Clara. The Denver Broncos are finding themselves to be a team of destiny here, and they're going to have to clean up some things offensively to find sustainability along the way. But you know what? An AFC Championship game next week in the Mile High City. Make sure you stay tuned to Locked On Broncos for more.
This was very obviously shot before the news came out that Bo Nix was not going to be available for the AFC Championship game and potentially the Super Bowl. But I got to tell you, as somebody who obviously is from Denver, who covers the Denver Nuggets and Denver Broncos, this was a spectacular game of back and forth between two quarterbacks that one of them made a whole bunch of mistakes. We'll get to Josh Allen in a minute here. But I think a lot of questions, Fabs, you know, when you're restarting a franchise, Fabs, and you're trying to figure out, you know, do you have a guy at quarterback? Now, you think about regular season success. You know, you think about going out into the season and, hey, can you throw for 4,000 yards? Can you get 30 touchdowns? But what you really want to know is that when the moment is the tightest and the moment gets the brightest and the pressure is on, do you have a quarterback that can stand in the face of adversity and get the job done? Now, Bo Nix had done that throughout the regular season. The Broncos had the most come from behind wins ever this season. But Bo yesterday, with 4 minutes and 11 seconds left on the clock, Fabs, got the ball versus Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, took his team down, got a touchdown with 55 seconds left. Josh Allen with the old hook and ladder play, great call by Joe Brady. They get down, they make a 50-yard field goal. Josh Allen gets stopped in overtime. They then they turn the ball over. Then they has to go over to the Denver Broncos after a very controversial interception. Bo then leads a game-winning field goal drive down the field. And in that game, Fabs, you get 308 total yards from Bo Nix, 3 touchdowns, and a touchdown that was flat out dropped by Lil Jordan Humphrey. He misses his second receiver, and Troy Flanken gets hurt with an injury. His third receiver, and Pat Bryan goes down with an injury. This is without J.K. Dobbins. And then their center, who is replacing their starting center, Forsythe, he gets hurt. And even with all that, Bo Nix went out there and put on a masterclass of a game. I think he was the best quarterback of the divisional round so far in the playoffs. Fabs, I think all things put together, Bo Nix proved and solidified that he is absolutely 100% the guy for Denver.
Hard to argue against you, Swipe. It really is. Bo Nix came out as a rookie and was phenomenal, better than most people thought he would be. And, remember too, back in the draft, a lot of folks thought, well, they took Bo Nix because Michael Penix got drafted before everyone thought he would get drafted, and they kind of needed a quarterback. And so maybe they overdrafted Bo Nix. This kid has got it, and Sean Payton is part of it. And so it's going to be very interesting to see now what sort of game plan Sean Payton gets together for this Patriots game that they've got next week with Jared Stidham starting at the quarterback position. Obviously, Stidham knows the offense, and so he's familiar. You mentioned the Broncos had a couple of wide receivers banged up. Let's see what goes on with them next week. But the Broncos are going to be going into this game. It almost seems like, even though they won the game, it almost seems like it was sort of a loss because Bo Nix getting hurt really kind of deflated the hopes, I think, of a lot of Broncos fans. And now you've got to go in hoping that Jared Stidham and that Broncos defense can really step up against a game New England Patriots team. Now let's go on the other side here, Swipe, and let's talk about Buffalo here. And this game is going to hurt for a while. You had to feel for Josh Allen. He made mistakes in this game. He also he basically put the offense on his shoulders at times as well. He was really emotional after the game. I mean, you can go back to the 4 Super Bowls they lost back in the 90s and 2000s. I mean, in the 90s, excuse me. And you think, is this team just cursed when it comes to the postseason? I don't know. I'm not sure what Joe Marino thinks about that, but let's check in with him with Locked On Bills for more.
Well, that's it. The Buffalo Bills season comes to an end with a 33-30 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos. And there's going to be a lot of conversations about officiating on the last drive. And certainly those conversations are worth having, but ultimately the Bills made too many mistakes. They turned the ball over 5 times. They're -4 in turnover differential. That's the difference in the game. And not only were there crippling giveaways by the Bills offense, also missed throws and opportunities to make plays down the field that weren't made. Josh Allen missing some throws, catches that need to be made. And the Bills season comes to an end. And once again, the Bills have a lot of success, but it ends in a playoff loss. This time it's different because it's not against the Kansas City Chiefs. And so there's an offseason ahead with a lot of questions for this Bills team about how they regroup and rally and go on another run.
Yeah, Bills fans are definitely in not a great place right now. A little bit of despair floating around, but I just think that Josh Allen didn't play well. And I think he got put in some bad spots by himself and his own play. The turnover before half was egregious. Running with the ball, as players say, with the loaf of bread, and then you fumble the ball. It's a field goal. And then the other pick that he threw, there was a pick over the field where he tried to look off, and then PJ Locke ran it and intercepted the ball. And I just think that he missed plenty of throws yesterday. I just think he got outplayed by the other quarterback on the other side of the field. And I guess for me, Fab, I'm watching some of the conversation around Josh Allen. Josh Allen had a lot of offensive help yesterday. James Cook, minus a fumble, had 100+ yards rushing yesterday. He averaged 5 yards a pop. The Broncos could not stop the run the first 3 quarters, but I just think they tried to do too much. The Broncos defense made some incredible plays defensively, but obviously a lot of Bills fans are pointing to the calls at the end of the game. The interception that they feel like it was not an interception because Brandon Cook had the possession of the ball and was down, and then there were 2 pass interference penalties. One was on Cortland Sutton, but on that same play, Joey Bosa gets a late hit onto Bo Nix. That would have been a 15-yard penalty. The Broncos denied that one. And then the last one, Tre'Davious White clearly seems to get there a little bit early, but both Buffalo fans, I feel like Riley Moss had one in the previous possession that wasn't called. So there's a lot of, I feel like, excuse making, but at the end of the day, as Josh Allen said himself, if you turn the ball over 5 times, you're going to put yourself in a really rough spot.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I mean, listen, not for nothing, it was a fantastic game, and it's too bad that what's going to come out of this game is the referees and people complaining about the calls or the calls that just were not made. At the end of the day, we had a great divisional round game, and now we've got Denver moving on to face the Patriots. We're going to talk about that. Coming up next, we're also going to talk about Sam Darnold and the Seahawks and how they absolutely blew out an injury-ravaged 49ers team. Is Seattle, you think, now the favorite to take home the Lombardi Trophy? Swipe and I are going to talk about that coming up next. Hey guys, the draft pick positions are set, and so many teams are looking for their franchise QB. Now, have you ever wished to become a pro QB, get drafted maybe first overall by, I don't know, the Dallas Cowboys? At least for me, that would be the dream. Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you, and it's called Ultimate QB Fantasy Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness, to help turn a falling franchise into a dynasty. This is the number 1 QB career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry and evolve your teammates, give input to your GM on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a QB career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama, and every choice shapes your journey. Ultimate QB is totally free to play. It has no ads, and it works 100% offline. And that's perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. Again, that is ultimate-qb.com, and you can search for that in your app store. And we've got something special just for you guys. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game store, and you get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB, football legend QB1, it's your legacy. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked into every moment than with Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down to its final stretch, now's the perfect time to close it out strong. Prize Picks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player projections. There's no drafts, there's no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. Prize Picks is incredibly easy to get started. I use the app all the time. You pick 2 or more players and choose more or less on their projections. It makes watching games way more engaging. There's no question about that, especially during the playoffs and the upcoming big game. It's a great way to keep playing fantasy football. And I love that, even after season-long leagues are finished. And also, one of my favorite features is the early payouts, which let you cash out if a player gets off to a hot start. I also love being able to mix stars from different teams and build lineups that fit how I like to watch the game. And the new social feed makes it fun to follow along with friends and share lineups and get inspiration from other players. Just download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, we are back, and we thank you for making Locked On NFL Game Night your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't already done so, go check out our new Everydayer Club. you get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Game Night and Locked On Dynasty Football, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You also receive an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of the show. So go to lockedondynasty.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, Swipe Up. We had a Saturday night game in Seattle that was basically dominated from soup to nuts by the home team. Seattle scored a touchdown on the first play of the game. Rashid Shaheed goes 95 yards on the kickoff return. And the Niners were never closer than 11 points behind in this game. They got blown out 41-6. Ken Walker was a ridiculous offensive hero. And again, where was this during my fantasy football season? He had 116 yards on the ground. He had 3 touchdowns. He was huge. Seattle's defense obviously played great. So for more on this one, let's go to Corbin Smith with Locked On Seahawks.
History at Lumen Field, the Seattle Seahawks tying a franchise record with a 35-point rout of the San Francisco 49ers to advance to the NFC Championship game. 41-6 victors over San Francisco. Another dominant defensive performance. 8 straight quarters against San Francisco without giving up a touchdown in just 9 total points. The Seahawks produced 3 turnovers, 2 of them from Ernest Jones, a forced fumble that Julian Love recovered, an interception of Brock Purdy in the third quarter. They also got a strip sack from DeMarcus Lawrence that Nick Eamon-Warry recovered. Sam Darnold didn't show any ill effects from his oblique injury. Wasn't asked to do a lot, but was effective with 17 pass attempts, completed 70% of his throws, and had a beautiful touchdown pass to Jackson Smith and Jigba as Seattle went up 17-0 at the end of the first quarter. From there really was no doubt who was going to win this football game. The 49ers couldn't get anywhere close to enough offense going to get back in this game. Seattle was up 24-6 at halftime and kept pouring it on in the second half with ferocious defense. Rashid Shaheed opened the game with a kick return for a touchdown that electrified this crowd as well. All 3 phases playing perfect complementary football. This is about as dominant of all-around effort as you're going to see in an NFL playoff game. The Seahawks are hoping to carry that momentum over into the NFC Championship game, which will be back here at Lumen Field against either the Chicago Bears or the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, dominant performance. This felt in some ways, remember Super Bowl 48 for a lot of you Seahawks fans. It started off with the momentum just completely shifting to the Seahawks side. They opened up the game with one of the rare explosive plays, especially in a playoff setting. And when you start the game with a touchdown right out of the gate on a 95-yard kickoff return, that changes the dynamic. And by the way, shout out to the Seahawks front office. They knew they needed to be more explosive, and wouldn't you know it, Rashid Shaheed has changed just how good that Seahawks team is, because it's not just the kick returning, it's also the rushing, it's also the threat of him as a pass catching option. And so when you have him out there with Cooper Kupp, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then on top of that, you're putting Kenneth Walker on the field, Zach Charbonnet, who wasn't great in this game, but Walker with 3 TDs and 116 yards. Sam Darnold didn't need to do anything this entire game. He literally just needed to play team manager, let the run game do what it needs to do, let the defense do what it needs to do. And in this game on the other end, I don't even feel the way, man. Brock Purdy had no chance in this game. Brock Purdy literally is out here playing without George Kittle, no Brandon Ayuk. They didn't have their guys, and the defense didn't have their guys. And I just think it's going to be really difficult to beat the Seahawks team unless you're 100%. So I do think the Seahawks should be the favorite to win the title, especially given the fact that Denver is now without Bo Nix, and there's no coming back, even if they do make the Super Bowl. I think they're also better than the Patriots as well. There's just a lot of stuff that's going, I think, in their favor. I think they can play versus the Rams or versus the Chicago Bears and feel fairly confident, especially given how good their D-line has been this year. But that was just a phenomenal butt kicking by the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I got to give the 49ers a little bit of credit, though, because they were banged up all year. They lost Nick Bosa. They lost Fred Warner. Brandon Ayuk didn't play this season. He's probably not going to play for the 49ers ever again. They lose George Kittle last week. They lost Jake Tongas in that game, and he was very good before he ended up getting hurt. Christian McCaffrey got a little bit banged up in that game last night, ultimately was able to come back and play. But now you got to think about the 49ers for next season, and we'll get to in this real quick. Ayuk's going to be gone. McCaffrey's going to be 30, and he's had over 400 touches this year. George Kittle may not come back until October or November of next season. So when you're looking at the Niners and what they need to do this offseason, Juwan Jennings is going to be a free agent. They don't pick until late in the first round at 27. What are a few of the things you think that the Niners need to do here in the offseason to get back to potentially, a Super Bowl and NFC Championship game? I think one of the things they need to do, they got to get some help at wide receiver.
Well, I mean, I feel like they have receivers. The problem is that they just can't stay healthy all at the same time.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and obviously Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, that's a good, tandem. But then Brandon Ayuk, that whole situation was just ridiculous. And obviously he's probably more likely gone than he is going to stay this year, just given kind of how everything ended. But Seattle, I think what they need to do is kind of look at the Seattle model and get back to having a really good defensive line. I think one of the biggest things they struggle with, they couldn't put pressure on you outside of Nick Bosa. And so once Nick Bosa went down, they couldn't do anything. And I think if you look at the Seattle team, you look at the Patriots team, you look at the Texans team, you look at the Broncos team especially, one thing they do is they rush the pass rush. That front four for all those teams is very good. I think that's what you need to get back to. You need an identity defensively. You need to establish the physicality on your front seven. And then also you need to make sure you have the cover men behind that as well. So I think they need to focus on the defensive line more than anything else going into this offseason.
All right, great stuff, my friend. As always, coming up next, we're going to talk about how Drake May and the Patriots advanced to the AFC Championship game after a huge win over the Texans. Don't go anywhere. The divisional round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. So each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts, and you can apply it to the bets that you like the most. I mean, that's awesome, right? You open your profit boost pack first thing on game day, and you see what boost that you want to apply, again, to your favorite bets. The boost will let you lean into your game day instincts, right? Whether you're backing momentum, you're backing a defense like Seattle, maybe quarterback play, or maybe just coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets and that you already like, instead of forcing you to bet on something new. And every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. And who doesn't like even bigger payouts? So make sure you visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, Swiper, we are back here. And all right, Swiper, so Drake May and the Patriots, it was an ugly game. They were able to survive against the Texans despite turning the ball over 3 times. Do you know May actually fumbled 4 times in this game? I mean, that's a lot. He lost 2 of them. He also threw a pick. But CJ Stroud was worse. I mean, had 4 interceptions. New England takes advantage, 28-16 win. Kayshon Boutte has a big game. And now the Patriots, they move on to Denver to face the Broncos in the AFC Championship game. We've seen this story play out before. For more, here's Nick Cattles with Locked On Patriots.
Simply unbelievable. It doesn't feel real. The Patriots are headed to the AFC Championship game after beating the Texans 28-16, and they ran the football down Houston's throat to soak the clock in the fourth quarter. That was a statement by Mike Vrabel and company. To run the ball against that defense to end this game, for all intents and purposes, what a statement from Ramondre Stevenson. What a statement from this offensive line. 1 billion turnovers. The game was chaotic. The weather was nuts. But man, oh man, the Patriots are headed to the AFC Championship game. They play the Broncos next weekend on Sunday. I can't believe it. We're going to talk about it, talk about this game, talk about the Patriots moving on. Locked On Patriots. See you soon.
Yeah, they're going to win this game, man. Shout out to them. Shout out to the running game, I think, for being spectacular today. That, for me, is the story. Travion Henderson, what a great pickup for them. Ramondre Stevenson, way to stay with Ramondre, because I think having that power back there, it matters a lot. He had 70 yards on the ground today, 4.4 yards per carry. That might not sound like a lot, but especially given the fact that you need to have size to be able to move the chains, that made a lot of the difference so far. But I think the key story is we have not yet seen the best of Drake May in the playoffs. Now, maybe that's a good thing. He has 4 touchdowns so far, but he has 2 interceptions, 10 sacks taken already, and I believe he already has 4 fumbles as well so far in the playoffs. So they're going to have to make sure that they're taking care of their quarterback, because that defensive line for Denver is going to be very active, especially knowing there's no Bo Nix in that game. The defense is going to have to play much better than it did versus the Bills. So I actually do think this is going to be a very interesting game, because both of these teams are going to want to keep the mistakes down, keep the turnovers low. But with that, I think it's going to be a lot more of a dogfight than people realize. But shout out to the Patriots, man. I think that the Denver Broncos and Patriots have both been the 2 best teams in the AFC. And now we get a rematch of 2015, and this is going to be a very good game. But shout out to Drake May. I think he's going to finish top 2 in MVP. And, man, second year, take your team to the AFC Championship.
Yeah, he's got to work on that ball protection, though, because we know what happens when you turn the ball over. Just ask C.J. Stroud. And, I mean, New England, if they would have been playing against a team that was healthier, maybe this would have been a different outcome. And we've got to talk about Stroud too. I mean, he's really regressed since his rookie year. I mean, he was really good as a rookie. Since then, it's been all downhill. And listen, I know Nico Collins didn't play in this game, and I know Dalton Schultz got hurt. Those were his 2 best options, but he's still making way too many mistakes. And I got to be honest with you, you got to wonder if the Texans don't maybe make him earn his starting role in 2026. Anyways, let's talk to John Hickman here from Locked On Texans for more on this game.
Texan fans, the season ends on a heartbreaker, fueled by just a god-awful performance from quarterback C.J. Stroud. There's no way around it. I'm John Hickman of the Locked On Texans podcast, your team every day. It wasn't like Houston wasn't in this game. It wasn't like they did not have an opportunity to pull in closer than what they were. At one point, Houston had the lead. But when it all came down, throughout the week, I talked about, hey, this game is going to come down to which quarterback plays better than the other. A lot of people slept on the Patriots defense, and we know how ferocious this Houston Texans defense is. But when it was all said and done, Drake made 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. C.J. Stroud, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, a fumble at that. He just wasn't good, and he wasn't good enough for the Houston Texans to get over the hump. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment, and check out the Locked On Texans podcast every day this week as I continue to cover your team every day.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a case study quite like C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had 5 interceptions, 5 or more interceptions, and 5 more fumbles today, like all around in this postseason. Like, losing the ball 10 plus times in 2 games in the playoffs, this is one of the strangest stories that I could think about, Fab, because C.J. Stroud, when he first started his rookie year, it looked like he was going to be, hey, like phenomenal, top 10 certified quarterback. You know he's going to be a guy. But he has been clearly regressing for the last 2 seasons. He doesn't look as confident as he did. I think the numbers bear it out. He's just not a threat in the pass game. And even with Nico Collins in the lineup, he's just not been the player that I thought, me personally, I thought that he would end up being. And I think today, man, he had 4 interceptions, but perhaps it easily could have been 5. And then on top of that, there was another play where he threw the ball behind his tight end, and his tight end trying to reach for the ball that was badly thrown, he hurts his knee, and I'm just kind of like,
yep.
Dude, this is just, when Sam Darnold said that he was seeing ghosts, I think that was the Jets versus the Patriots in like 2019-20 or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like. Like every time I looked in CJ's eyes, he just seemed overwhelmed by the moment. And I'm totally with a lot of Texan fans. They just feel like, look, he's extension eligible this summer. Not even a question. He's not getting an extension. Let him play it out, and you just kind of go from there. Year 4, show us that you have it in you to go be a great quarterback. I can't remember the last time I've seen somebody start off this well and then lose almost all of the credibility with their own fan base over the next 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, not for nothing, but Davis Mills started games this season. He was part of the streak that the Texans had of just continually winning games. He didn't look bad. And I really think that they got to give him an opportunity to start next season, and they've got to push C.J. Stroud to earn the starting job rather than just have it handed to them, because that rookie season, Swipa, that seems like it was a long time ago. They have got a championship defense. Even if they need CJ Stroud to be a game manager, he's not even able to do that because he's turning the ball over way too much. All right, guys, thank you, of course, as always, for tuning into Locked On NFL Game Night. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On NFL Game Night and Locked On Dynasty Football so you don't miss any episodes. And if you never miss an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On NFL Game Night and Locked On Dynasty Football ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedondynasty.supercast.com to join a club. And for those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On NFL. And Swipe at this time next week, we're going to know who is in the Super Bowl, my friend.
Woo! Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a very, very hard-fought game between the Broncos and then between the Patriots, and then whoever has to go see that Seahawks team. Yeah, that's going to be a war. I can't wait to get to it.
Good luck. All right, everybody. So Swipe and I will be back here next week. So come back and check us out. Have a great week and enjoy the rest of the football.